One of the common questions I always get is how I got my start in music production, and as well as how I got from being a touring artist all the way to becoming a head coach and founder of Industry Set. Like, what took me from the touring artist place to being a head coach? Like, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just keep being a touring artist? And so the truth behind that is, I initially was wanting to teach really badly because I love helping people. Like, that's one of my main fulfillments in life, is like giving back and impacting people in whatever way I can. And so helping people has always been like a strong suit for me. I love connecting people in that same way. I initially wanted to teach at this particular music school in my city, and they rejected me because I was using different software, or possibly also because I didn't have the same hype as some of the other teachers that they had there. And so I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go do my own school. And so I then started doing an online program. A couple of artists that came through that, such as like Jaquee was one of my first clients through that program. It was like a marketing course. And then after the success of that, I did a local networking event here in my city in Perth, and that was quite successful as well. Got really used to doing different kind of formats of education. And so we did that a couple of times, and then that's when I went from that platform into Defire, which was a online subscription model kind of platform. And at the time, I was still going really hard with my music production. I was getting shows, I was like touring, I was playing co-headline shows with like Pfizer, with Shivers, co-headline with Sudden Death at Chinese Laundry in Sydney. And so I was getting the best shows that were possible. And I was at an absolute high point of my career. However, COVID then happened, and in order for me to sustain myself financially, I had to pivot more towards the educational stuff that I was doing, because there was no shows to be had. Defire, I was running with a business partner, and we didn't really see eye to eye. He was a completely different personality type to me, and he was more about expanding, and I was more about having like a really good product and providing a lot of value to people individually. And so we had a lot of differences there, and as well as a lot of miscommunication. Eventually I had to leave the platform. Not going to go into depth about the whole thing, but as you know, Defire is no longer operating in that same way. I think it's still running to an extent, but I've cut ties there, and I moved on to another platform and built Forbidden Society alongside another business partner, and did that for about a year. Unfortunately, had some miscommunication there as well, of like who was doing what and what kind of takeaway each person got. And that became really complicated, and unfortunately that also was no-go for me. I wasn't able to sustain that, so I left that one and then started Industry Set. And so Industry Set, now that I'm with the right people in terms of growing the right platform and having the right values and providing what's required to the people and not cutting any corners or anything like that. Now that we're doing all those things with the right team of people, I'm very fulfilled in my role, and I'm able to actually deliver on what I promise, because I have full creative control over like what actually happens and what the curriculum looks like, and how we actually provide for people. So that's what's gotten me along this journey. And like, that was a really, really tough journey for me, of like constantly being let down by the people and not seeing eye to eye on very like basic things. And unfortunately, some people are really tough to work with and have different agendas that just don't align with you. And I perhaps just didn't have a good judge of character for some people that I've met along the way, and I've learnt my lessons. And now realizing that if you want to build something great, you have to build it with great people who share the same visions, share the same values, and the people who are willing to put in the hard work as much as you are. Because if somebody doesn't align in those things, then it's just not going to work out, because there's going to be like resentment of like different expectations. And so, now that I'm with the right team of people who are hard workers and have the same vision of like wanting to impact the world in the right way, that's why Industry Set has grown the way it's grown, and the reason why it's still around after a couple of years, while most platforms generally fall off after like a year or so. Now, the reason why I'm still focusing on my effort here is that during these periods of going in and out of these different platforms and being let down by the people, that I had no opportunity to even focus on my own music, because I was just too busy focusing on these things. And unfortunately, 2 years ago, my mum passed away, and during this period of time, I was also grieving a relationship. My cat died. I was in a financial situation with like owing a lot of money because for the tax purposes, because I wasn't expecting for these businesses to like have a huge fallout with, and so being unprepared in that manner while dealing with all these other things and grieving my mom at the same time, it was the hardest point of my entire life. And I had some medical issues as well that made things even more turbulent. And so while trying to juggle all these things, there was just no bandwidth for me to keep my career consistent at that point. So like my management had to back off as well because they realized I just had priorities to focus on, and my booking agent was like, look, you do what you got to do. Just let us know when you're ready to pick it up where we left off. I prioritized my own mental health and, my life and what was going on. And that is why I was able to keep Industry Set strong the whole way through this. Despite me having to deal with all these things at the same time, I was still able to grow other people's careers at the same time and still deliver exceptional results. And that's why we've got so many damn success stories, because during that period of my life that was arguably the hardest part of my life, I was using all that energy as a fuel to actually be the best at what I could do for other people, because that's the only thing that I could really fulfill myself with at that time. I've kind of grieved all that and gotten past all those like hardships of being betrayed and being let down, and then kind of getting into working with the right people and whatnot. So now that I'm in this right place, Industry Set is now exactly what I've always wanted it to be. And I get to pick and choose who I get to work with. And the thing that really fulfills me the most about Industry Set is that I get to live vicariously through the wins that I get for other people. And I realized the one thing that I fell in love with in my music journey, it wasn't actually the things that I got, like the achievements I landed, it was how I got them. I was more stoked about how I landed these things than what they actually were. So for example, like when I got signed to a booking agency in Europe or in Australia, or I got my dream management in the US, it wasn't about, wow, I achieved the thing, but it was also like, holy crap, I landed this thing through being creative and strategic on my own terms. Like I didn't need anybody else to help me on that. I did this all by myself. And I'm somebody who has come from an upbringing where everything was done for me. Like my parents basically like babied me my whole childhood. Like they didn't let me do anything for me because, to be honest, they weren't really quite around, and so to compensate they tried to do everything for me. And so later on in life, when I started becoming this person where, oh my god, I get to like do things for myself, and when I land things for myself, that's what gives me that fulfillment. It just relates back to that. So I've always been that kind of person where, fuck it, I'll do it myself. If that music school rejected me, fuck it, I'll go build my own music school. Artist managers aren't helping me out, fuck it, I'll go teach myself how to be an artist manager and do it my way. And so that's always been the like legacy that I've lived, is doing things on my own terms. And so the rationale behind doing what I do with Industry Set, it gives me fulfillment because I get to teach people my perspective on things, on how to do things on your own terms. Because there's so many people that are in my position, were in my position where they had such a good product, like in terms of their music production and sound design, but then they just never made it as an artist because they didn't have that know-how, or they didn't believe in themselves that it is possible. And so even with just this YouTube channel, even if you're somebody that doesn't end up working with Industry Set, at least this YouTube channel with all the stuff that I put out here, at least that gives you the proof of concept that it is possible for you to make it on your own terms. Like that's the main thing that I want to put out there. The message I want to give to the rest of the world is you can do things on your own term, and you can pretty much land anything you want as long as you're willing to put in the hard work, the grit and the determination, and never give up on what you're trying to move towards. Because if I can do it, then so can you. There's no reason why you can't do it as well. If you're just putting in the hard work, there's nothing that will actually stop you. There's no such thing as really gatekeeping. That's just a limiting belief that a lot of us has created to be a victim mindset of that, hey, XYZ was right place, right time kind of thing. But you will have your right time, right place as well. But as you've got to be putting in the hard work to be in that exact position. And so with Industry Set, the fulfillment I get is living vicariously through people, and I get to relive all those moments basically all over again. So when somebody gets a huge win, they get signed to an agency, a management, bookings, whatever it might be, that custom built strategy that I made for them specifically, I get that fulfillment as in, wow, I did that I made that strategy for that person and it worked out. Like I invented that whole strategy for them. So for example, when one of my clients, Ariel, when we originally started working together like over a year ago, one of the main goals that we had was getting signed to Cyclops Recordings, which is Subtronics' label. And the strategy that I knew was Cyclops Recordings A&R is the same A&R as Boogie T's label, because the management that used to be all combined for like Boogie T, Dirt Monkey, Subtronics was Grave Dancer, and they used to be their own label / management, and I knew, and bookings, and so I knew that that team is still associated, like likely their A&R is probably going to be the same person. And so when I researched it, I was right that the A&R is the same person. And so the strategy we had was, if I can get Ariel to send an EP to Drummer Club Records, which is a smaller label in comparison to Cyclops Recordings, if he can, win that over and get that signing, that means he's opening up that dialogue or conversation to that same A&R to then pitch them to a bigger label. And so that's exactly what we did. He signed a 4-track EP to Drummer Club Records that came out literally weeks, I think it was a couple of months after we actually came up with the initial idea. And then he started getting artist support as well on some of his other songs he's been sending out. Got a collaboration with Conrank that came out on Circus Records. And then we leveraged all those things. And then he made his pitch to the same A&R. And it's literally been 12 months since we started with Industry Set. And now he's signed to Cyclops Recordings. It actually came out in late February this year. So that's proof of concept right there about the kind of strategy stuff that I like to build for each client individually. Like that same strategy is not going to work for every single person, because you might not want to be signed to that label, or you might not want to be making that type of music. Like maybe you're making techno, and so your strategy might be more lined with like moving towards like Afterlife or something, like that kind of record label, or maybe it's like drum code if you're like doing techno. So same thing with drum and bass. Maybe you're moving towards like Andy C's label. So it depends on what kind of sound you're doing and what you're trying to move towards. So you're going to have different goals, you're going to have different weaknesses, bottlenecks, and I have to bring all of that together into one thing and figure out how I can build a strategy around that. That being said, that's why the first 2 semesters of when I work with somebody over a 12-month period, it's purely just improving the production. Because if the production is undeniably good, only then can we actually get this kind of certainty on the results we're getting. Because if the production is just not where it needs to be, it's going to be fine with getting, higher viewership on your content strategy. Sure, we can do that easily together. But when it comes to artist support, like getting that, which I think is really key in terms of this whole strategy that I do here, if somebody's production isn't where it needs to be, and you send out those emails and messages to these big artists and they check out the song and they listen to it and they don't think it's good, they're going to have that lasting impression that that's where your quality is going to be for forever, like for years. A lot of them aren't going to go, oh, well, he'll be better in a year's time, so I'll listen to the next thing he sends. So keep in mind that it's first impressions are everything. First impressions are everything. So we want to make sure the product is the best it can be before we ship it out, before we send our stuff out to bigger artists, because they'll have that first-hand impression of what we send them first. Once that's out of the way and the product's good, by all means, send it out to as many people, get it out to all these bigger names, and that's going to be that turning point. When you start getting art support, then we can use that to get other things. We can build association around that. So let's say you want to get signed to some management, booking agency, whatever it might be. If we win over as many people that is associated with those platforms, it's much easier for the person who receives that email or message from you to actually take you seriously, because you can mention, hey, in terms of what I've been up to lately, I've been supported by this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. And if they're all people that they already value and know or are already on the roster, they're already going to know that your music's good before they even click on your link. Because what most of you guys are going to be struggling with is, it's not about getting the connection or building the leverage to, get that intro. It's going to be about getting them to even click on your link that you send them of your music, because they have too much choice. They have tons of people send them music, and they're not going to prioritize you when they already have other people in their corner that they are investing their time into. Like they already have a whole list of people that they're going to sign. So there needs to be undeniable proof already in plain sight before they even consider listening to your track. Because that way they know as soon as they click on the link, they already come in knowing, hey, this is going to be good. And that's what's going to actually pique their curiosity. So all these things are just so crucial. And that's why I do what I do, is it's these challenges, getting these strategies, creating them from custom built, and then building around them. And so the takeaway I want you guys to know is, if you have ever been uncertain about your artist career, at least know moving forward that you can do things on your own terms, that it is possible to get what you want in life as long as you just work your ass off and you have that vision and you stay clear on that vision and those goals and move towards them. And you just have unrelentless drive towards these things. Like, just never give up. The moment that you give up, you lose. So always just put your best foot forward, give your absolute all, and never give up.